Hi, I'm Auntie Dawn. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making buttermilk buckwheat pancakes. Buckwheat pancakes have been a traditional American food for more than a century. Pancake restaurants were cheap and popular back in the 1920s in big cities like New York. Buckwheat is a Native American plant, not related to wheat or any of the other common cereals like oats and rice. Buckwheat is much more flavorful than wheat. It has a nutty flavor. And because it isn't wheat, when you mix it with water, it doesn't develop gluten like wheat does. I grew up on Bisquick pancakes, so I find the flavor of an all buckwheat pancake to be a bit strong. So I usually do about 1/3 cup buckwheat to 2/3 cup whole wheat pastry flour. Buttermilk loves to escape from cartons, so as soon as I get it home from the store, I like to put it into a quart glass jar. Before you start cooking, I recommend getting out your butter and pouring out your maple syrup so that they can come up to temperature, and you can remember to heat up that syrup at the end, because room temperature butter and hot syrup are definitely the way to eat pancakes. So I start with the egg, break it on the counter, and then make sure I don't get any eggshell bits because they can be very difficult to extract once you've mixed in other things. Now I'm going to beat it well. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of buttermilk. So buttermilk will kind of separate. So first I'm going to open it up, make sure it's nicely mixed up. And now I can pour it in. Now I don't have to measure it separately because I know that that egg I put in is just under a 1/4 cup. So if I pour it to just under the 1 1/3 cup line, I know that'll be great. And I always rinse my my milk lid, because otherwise the top of this jar will get totally unmanageable. So now get that mixed up. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar, using coconut sugar because it has a nice rich flavor that complements buckwheat well. And a tablespoon of a neutral vegetable oil. All right, mix that up. Okay, now I can add my dry ingredients. So here's my 1/3 cup of buckwheat flour. I generally add that because I know it's not going to react with the water in the rest of the mixture while I get the rest of my ingredients ready. So next is 2/3 cup of whole wheat pastry flour, ready to add the leavening and seasoning. So there's a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which again, since I'm using kosher salt, I'm using a heaping 1/2 teaspoon. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Baking soda and baking powder are very different ingredients. Baking soda only works in the presence of an acidic ingredient like buttermilk. So now I can start to mix this up. And I like a pancake that's on the thinner side, so I'm going to thin this a bit with oat milk, unsweetened oat milk. I used to thin it with normal dairy milk, but I found it gave the pancakes a bit of a gummy texture. So you can see it's quite lumpy still. So I'm going to mix it until it's not very lumpy. If you mix it until it's totally smooth, the pancakes will tend to come out tough. You can also thin it with water, which is unsurprising because milk is just water with some fat and protein in it. So I've turned on the ventilation and turned on the heat under my griddle. I'm using both a front and a back burner, and since my stove, like most stoves, has a smaller burner in the back, I need to remember to turn up the heat in the back higher than in the front. I usually eye it to make sure that the flames are equivalent size. You're going to want to wait and let this get really hot. The traditional test is that you let a drop of water fall off your finger, and if it skitters around before evaporating, then it's hot enough. Now we're going to check. Oh yes, and see how those are dancing around? That is plenty hot. Now that they evaporate, I'm going to pour on just a tiny, tiny bit of oil and spread it around. This is almost a microscopic layer, but it will mean the pancakes brown nice and evenly. Okay. Here we go. I like to use a tablespoon, which gives me a pretty manageable size of pancake, a bit better than a silver dollar. And if you drip, just like I do, as long as you put batter on it right away, it'll cook up into a pancake and won't be able to tell the difference. All these tiny little drips are special treats for the cook. Turn them the chopstick or take them away if they're too small to be worth eating. And by the time I've done that, the big pancakes are probably ready to flip. You can see the air bubbles that have popped up in them. That is the sign. Little tag along there. Yep, there we go. That nice, even golden brown color is what we're looking for. If you get batter on your spatula, I recommend cleaning it off because otherwise it'll transfer to your other pancakes and then you're eating raw egg and raw flour. All right, this guy's flipped. And I've got my plate ready so that my done pancakes don't burn while I'm looking for a plate to put them on. Yep. All right, you can see the bottom is now done, so I can remove those. I always remember to, especially for the ones at the back burners, and really want to check the bottoms to make sure they're cooked all the way through, because sometimes they just cook a little more slowly because that burner is a little smaller. And unless the pancakes are starting to stick, there's no need to renew that layer of oil. I really recommend using a griddle if you can. I have made them in pans before, but it is so easy to burn yourself on the edge of a pan. And of course, you're going to be cooking for a lot longer because I can do 8 pancakes at a time here, but you can do maybe 3 or 4 on a large fry pan. Okay, now I'm ready to remove the last of the pancakes. It is really tempting to grab them, but got to remember they are really hot. Okay. Now I'm going to turn off the heat and let the fumes go up a bit before I turn off the ventilation. Now that my syrup is hot, I can show you the last and very important step. So I'm going to get out a small ramekin and put in a little bit of butter. This is the ghee clarified butter that I really like to eat. And I'm going to pour over the hot syrup. This means I can dip my bites of pancakes and I don't need to worry about it getting on my eggs or any other thing. Breakfast protein I'm serving with this. It means I get it the best bite every time and the pancakes never get soggy. I hope you enjoy these pancakes as much as I do. See you next time.